Good morning everyone and welcome to this week's update. I hope everybody is well and rested and you're okay. So today's video is going to be in 4 parts. The first is just an update on what happened on Friday, just so you've got all the information from me and where we're up to. Then it will be about what is happening with the vaccinations. Then I'll give you an update on the relationship policy. And finally, at the end of this, I'm just going to do a little bit of an explanation about what Phase 1 means. This will be for reception parents and Year 1 parents and our approach with that, just to give a little bit more information about that, as I said I would a couple of weeks ago. So, Friday. Obviously, it wasn't the best of days. It was something that I never expected to have dealt with as a head, but there it is. So what happened was we had a planned fire drill for 10:20. That went off without a hitch. Students were excellent, evacuated the building really calmly, really quickly. That was really, really positive. Then on the way back in, the receptionist, Leanne, had a phone call, and all it said, and that's what the phone call triggered, obviously with the bomb threat. So then, as a result of that, we immediately phoned 999. Now, we realised it wasn't a credible bomb threat because we have a whole procedure and protocol in place to ask questions, which we have in case of this measure. And the phone call was incredibly short, incredibly quick, so we weren't able to gather any information, and it really felt as though it was a hoax. However, we couldn't take any chances with this, obviously. And so the threat was simply to the secondary building. So we phoned 999, we went through all the information, we made sure the emergency services were there, and then I made the decision to evacuate the building again. Even though I was convinced it wasn't a real bomb threat, I felt for student safety it was really, really important to evacuate the secondary building. So we did that. Again, students went out, and we didn't explain to students at that point because we didn't want to panic them and concern them. So the students went out onto the AstroTurf with the staff, and we didn't tell the staff either, again, so as to not have any panic or concern. The police arrived, and then I went around the building with them so they could search all of the rooms just to make sure. And once they'd completed the search and they were confident that there was nothing in the building, that's when we allowed the students back in again, on the advice of the police and also of a local inspector that I was keeping in contact with throughout the day. We then, once the students were back in the building and we were able to feed them, we then were able to do an assembly to all the students and also a letter to yourselves, just outlining what happened. And I know that must have been a bit of a shock for many of you to receive that. And thank you to all of those families who I spoke with out the gates on Friday when I was walking around. It was nice to know that you appreciated the honesty, and that was the decision we made. We didn't want to keep anything from you, and we would prefer to be upfront rather than try and hide it from you. The police obviously are taking this incredibly serious. It's a criminal offence. It's the Counter-Terrorism Act and also the Criminal Offence Act of 1977, I think it is. It does bring with it a prison sentence. So obviously the police will press charges, arrest whoever is responsible if they can find out. So if there is any information, if you do know, then please do contact the school. We are taking it incredibly serious, as are the police, and they are still doing their investigations. So that is an update on Friday. So, I now want to just update you on where we're up to with student vaccines. This is for 12 to 15-year-olds. We have now been given a date by Calderdale Council, which is the 11th of November, which is our vaccination date. So, after half term, we'll be sending out a lot of information to you about the process, about consent, how we're going to manage it. Obviously, that will come then, but I just want to explain it to you now. So, obviously, there will be no vaccines given to any student without consent from yourselves, written consent. We will have the vaccination centre in a separate building, either the sports hall or it will be in our Commander's House building, depending on how many students and how many families request the vaccine. Obviously, the more students get the vaccine, the better it will be, the safer it can become. It feels as though the pandemic is ripping through school-aged children at the moment. It's about 40,000 rates, I think it was the last time I checked, and this really is school-aged children. So with the colder weather fast approaching and spending more and more time indoors, it really is for safety reasons if we can encourage many people. But I do understand there's still a lot of vaccine hesitancy. So please don't worry about us promoting that or pushing that with anyone. With the students, it will be based entirely upon your consent. And if there are any questions, then it will be the school age vaccination nurses who will then contact you themselves. It's nothing to do with us. We're not administering the vaccines at all. It's all through that service. So we'll give you more details after the half term, but should you have any questions, then always contact the school, as you know. Just an update on where we are with the relationship policy. As I said last week, we were waiting for representatives from the Council of Mosques to come in and have a look at the resources. And this week we were able to invite them in. It was Sheikh Mustafa from the Hotwood Lane Mosque, so thank you very much for coming in, as well as other gentlemen from the Council of Mosque representatives. We showed them all of the resources that we had for them to look through. As I say, this isn't about getting a stamp of approval from the Council of Mosques. That's not what we're after. It's just so that they've had an opportunity to look through all the resources and give us some steer and guidance on what may be some potentially contentious issues. So we're still waiting for feedback from them. That happened on Thursday. So once we've got that feedback, we'll then make any adjustments. And I hope that the last week of term is when we can then have a parent forum for primary parents to come in. You can have a look at the resources, you can ask us any questions, and then we can go from there. And hopefully then all of your worries and concerns will be allayed. You'll see what we're teaching and how we're going to teach it. All of the resources are connected with it, and get to ask any questions that you may have for that. So that's where we're up to for there. Finally, just to say thank you to all those families who have been visiting the school again. We've had the doors open, had a lot of families through, coming to have a look round, prospective families, current families. Our doors are always open, and it has been a real pleasure to invite so many families back. So if you are interested in coming round, if you haven't been in for a while, if you do want to just come and have a chat and look at what your children are doing, even if you want to visit them in lessons and embarrass them hugely, then please do contact us. We're happy to arrange visits for anyone. We're going to do some more after school next week, hopefully, or the week after before half term for prospective parents. And we will continue to do this after half term as well. So if you do want to come and have a visit, then please do get in contact with the school, and we're more than happy to show you around the brilliant things that your children get up to in school. So that's it for the main part of this video. As I say, the next part will be about a discussion around, just an explanation around what phase 1 means and what our approach is to early years and year 1. Thanks very much, everyone, and have a good week. Phase 1, as I have previously said in different videos, we have completely reviewed and changed how we're approaching through school education. Now, I think from what we know, we're the only school in the country to have approached it with a 5-phase model, or only state school. There are some private schools who have this model, and that's sort of where we've got some of the ideas from. And one of the most exciting phases that we look at is phase 1. Now, this is for reception and year 1 children. The idea and the fundamental principle around this is, because of the impact of COVID, and for so many children don't get formal education and formal childcare settings because of the brilliant families we have, we want to make sure that we've got a provision that best fits with those children and with your children in that age group. So what we've done is we've used some of the COVID catch-up premium that we've got, the additional money from the government, to put an extra member of staff in to phase 1 and reception and year 1, which is phase 1. This means that Miss Housestead, who you will all know and love, and she's absolutely fabulous, one of our best teachers across the school, now oversees that entire phase. So we have 2 reception teachers and 2 year 1 teachers. There's a TA and an HLTA, a higher level teaching assistant, working across all of those phases, so we've got the right support there. But what is special about that is the fact that Miss Housestead then delivers all of the interventions and makes sure that she has an overview across both year groups. And what we've also done then is increase provision, which is that play-based approach for children into year 1. We recognise they missed out on so much schooling last year in reception to year 1 children that actually we wanted to make sure they had that opportunity for that type of play and exploration before they moved to a more formal curriculum with the Key Stage 1. So that, in a nutshell, is what it is. We have written a curriculum that runs from reception to year 1, looking at the early learning goals, which are 17 different areas of development for children. That's what you get reported to make sure that they weave across reception and year 1. We then pick up later on, probably around November, Christmas time, Key Stage 1 curriculum. So that's the formal curriculum, the national curriculum, that is normally started at the beginning of year 1. We've decided to do it a little bit later to make sure that those children are ready. But because we've got that additional member of staff, it means that we can put in the support for those children to catch up, and that's how we have managed it in phase 1. So it's got Miss Halstead in it, it's got 4 other teachers in it, each class has got a member of staff linked to it, it's got HLTAs and support across all of there, and we've made sure that there's a lot of development for those staffs and a lot of support for children. So if you're interested in coming and having a look round phase 1 in reception or year 1, then please do get in contact with the primary phase and they will arrange a visit. Next week I'll be looking at phase 2, which is years 2, 3 and 4, and introducing Mr Adams to you. Thanks very much everyone, and speak to you soon.